Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are going to talk today on today's Monday Morning Mojo. I hope you all enjoyed your family and friends this weekend. I had a client send me a message over the weekend and say, I think working with a VA would be a great topic. So for that client, this is for you. So I immediately came up with this list, and it took me no time at all. 10 things to consider before you hire a virtual assistant. And in no real order. I just kind of jotted a few things down. So one of the first things I did in my business was hire a virtual assistant. I used to pay the virtual assistant on a credit card. I hired the assistant before I even had clients. That's how much I believe in having an assistant, having someone help you do what you do best, do what only you can do, work in your zone of genius, and you pay an expert who's an expert in their field of whatever that may be. So the first thing I want you to consider is write down a list of everything you do in your business. That everything you do for a whole week. So what does that mean? Check email. Do you do live videos? Do you edit videos? Are you making PowerPoint? So maybe even 2 weeks. And that's the first thing to do is just write that list down of all of the things that you do over a 1 week or a 2 week period of time. And then from there, you can really look into it. What are those things that you want to take off of your plate? What would really help free up your time to bring in, revenate the Monday morning, right? To help you generate more revenue coming into your business. So write that list of all of those tasks. The next thing is really look at who, what that person would do. What do you want them to be proficient in? Do you want them to turn your videos into YouTube videos? That's something I have one of my virtual assistants do. I have 2 people on my team now, and they have different skill sets. So I use them for different things based on their skill sets. So what is that list? Is it MailChimp? Is it Canva? YouTube, PowerPoint, creating your PDFs, managing your calendar, your schedule, all of those things. And something else to consider, and for most people, they want a virtual assistant to do their social media. So there's a lot to consider with the social media as well. I'm kind of checking off my list here. The next thing you want to think about is your budget, right? What does your budget look like? How much money are you allowing for this every month? Most VAs will work with a minimum of 5, 10, 15, 20 hours per month. Not all, but some. So you want to think about what can you afford. And it's better to start them off slowly. And if it's working out, then you can gradually add them as you see what their skill set is, if you want to put more on their plate, or perhaps bring a second person on who can really do those things you want. If your main business is, whatever your business is, if you're selling on an Etsy site and this person is not skilled in Etsy, do you want to pay them to learn that? Now, I'm not saying it's not worth investing in them. I've certainly hired VAs before who aren't proficient in a certain area, and as I've worked with them and they're great, I will say, okay, I'd like you to learn this. Can you learn that? And so you want to make sure that they're open and willing. If they don't know it, if they're, really eager and it's something that you want, then they may learn it before, they even start working with you. And you want to write that job description. Use the job description to act like a magnet to draw them into you. So, that job description could be 2 to 3 paragraphs. You want to make sure they're reading the job description. I can tell you a story recently, within the last year, for one of my assistants, Morgan, and before we even got on our first call, our discovery call, she had gone to my website, looked at everything, and she found, I don't know, 2 or 3 different typos. And she wrote me a really respectful, professional email and said, I hope you don't mind, but I was prepping for our call and I noticed you had a couple of typos, and she spelled them out and what they were. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? That's the number one complaint with anyone who has a VA, is if they have typos. So you want to make sure that, their grammar and their English is top notch and they're looking for those errors, and that's what their eyes are trained for. So I was in love with Morgan ever since that. So we've gone over the budget, we've gone over the job description. We've gone over what we'd like them to do. The next thing is we want to think about some client samples, right? What is their, client retention? What's their average time they work with someone? Now, I can tell you, I've hired a lot of VAs and I've coached and trained a lot of clients on hiring them. And I can tell you that typically a year, 2 years max, they kind of burn out. They get stale with the project. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe you're kind of stale with what they're doing. So knowing that ahead of time is helpful. It's not fun. It's not fun to have to train someone, bring them on again. So something else you want to consider is, how will you communicate with them? So I love Trello, and if you've ever worked with me, I put all my clients on Trello, and it's a great way to communicate with them. You want to have a system, right? You want to ask them, how do they communicate with their clients? What's their system? If you're using Asana, you want them to be able to learn Asana. So most VAs know multiple systems because they have multiple clients. They all communicate with them differently, and that should not be a problem. You are hiring them. They work for you. You want to say what your preference of communication is. And the next thing is, when will you communicate with them? Is it going to be a weekly scheduled 30-minute call where you can ask them questions, you can talk about your focus, they can ask you questions, because it's just important for you to listen to them and then questions. What you don't want to do is be texting them every single day and burn them out and be a pain in the butt to them. Now imagine if they have 10 clients they're working with, what their day will look like, how stressful that will be if 10 people are texting them. No, I'm not saying you can't ever text them, but you want to be respectful of that and think about how you're communicating with them. And so that's why I really like the project management system, because sometimes I'll work on the weekend and I'll think of an idea or something that I want, and I'll just put it in the Trello card, and then I can tag them. It's not an email or a text saying, hey, can you do this? They know when Monday comes, they can look at it. Okay. How are they going to track their time? You ask them what their system is that they use. And how are you going to track their performance? So I've had VAs send me itemized lists, which is what I prefer. And then I've had others that just send me a list, requesting. And I'm like, no. I want to see the breakdown. I want to see what you're doing. How are you going to pay them? Are you going to pay them Venmo? Are you going to pay them, at the end of the month, the beginning of the month, based on the hours that they do? You could say 10 hours, but sometimes it goes over. And you want to give them a heads up. So if you're hiring a VA and you say, right now, I have a very small budget, let's start with 10 hours, and they're working on a project that is really important to you, you want them to be able to have an open line of communication where they can say, Gina, you really wanted X, Y, and Z done by this date. You're at 9.5 hours. Do you want me to continue? Because I know I'm going to go over about an hour. And then you, the person who's hiring them, gets to make that decision. But you want to have that conversation up front in the beginning before you even hire them, so they understand. They're not a mind reader. They need to know what your expectations of them are. And I would say a 30-day trial. So for the first 30 days, and it might not take that long, for the first 30 days, you want to approve everything. You want to be able to approve if they're doing your social media. You want to approve the post. You want to approve the copy. You want to see what they're doing. Of course, you want to see samples of their work, especially if they're going to be doing some copywriting for you. And after that 30-day trial, you can have a conversation about it, and they know it's coming. And then you can, ask them, how's the communication going? Are you enjoying working for me? There's nothing worse than having somebody work for you that their heart's not in it. Maybe the work that they're doing for you doesn't resonate with them. And so you just want to make sure that you're on the same page, so it's a win-win situation. And again, evaluating them and giving them feedback. And I know it seems like it's picky, But in the beginning, they don't know your brand. So you want to make sure, I have this down on here, you want to make sure that your brand is clear to them. So what does that mean? You want to make sure you can articulate your brand to them. So if you have a mission statement, if you have an avatar, which I hope you all do. If you don't, reach out to me. Ideal client avatar, your brand promise, your colors, your font, your logo, your theme, anything you have, you should, before you even hire a VA, have a card on Trello for all of your marketing and your branding. So when when you're interviewing them, if you decide you'd like to see a sample of their work, you can show them that board. Of course, don't add them to the Trello board right away, but you can show them a sample of what you have and see what they could come up with if they have, based on what you show them, what your brand is. And so if you have 2 to 3 different colors in your brand, you want to make sure you tell them which one is the main focus. So my brand is blue. I don't want everything to be blue, blue, blue. I want it to be white with sprinkles of blue. Well, that's important information for them to know in order for them to do their job and please you. Something else that's really important is on your Trello board or whatever your project management system is, have your passwords ready. If you want to get them started, it's going to take you a little time. You may think you know them all, but you probably don't. So I recommend putting a list that says LinkedIn, and here's the email address, and here's the password. Then you put another card, and it says, Trello, or it says Acuity, or PayPal, or whatever it is that they're going to need, your Instagram, your Facebook, your whatever it is that you're going to need to give them access to so they can create whatever. If they're doing your social media, of course, you want to be clear. How many times a week do you want them to post? The right hashtags. They need to understand your market, your brand, and hopefully if they're coming for an interview, they've already gone to your website and they're familiar with what it is that you do, that you offer. And then the last thing on my list of 10 things to consider before you hire a virtual assistant is, where are you going to find them? So I may get a little pushback on this. There is a website called onlinejobs.ph, and you can hire a VA in the Philippines for $2 an hour. People have had success. For me personally, I like to keep it at home and keep it in the States, or Upwork.com is another one. You can go to Fiverr.com if you have a small project. Let's just say you want an opt-in, so you want somebody to do or create a workbook, a small project. You could go to Fiverr.com for that. In the entrepreneurial world, in my circles that I'm in, I can tell you there are a lot of VAs, and I interview them all the time because not everyone is right for the right person. So you want to make sure that what are their expertise? What are they proficient in? Now, not every client of mine has a Pinterest account, but a couple of my clients sell products. So I want to interview people, and I want to understand, what are they proficient in? Is it YouTube? Is it Pinterest? Is it whatever? And then I want to see some of their client work. So, who have you worked with? How long have you worked with them? And show me some samples. And so take it to that level. It's worth it if you really want to grow your team. And then the last thing, I'm probably on 14, 15 tips by now. I wrote down 10. But as I'm going, and obviously know my stuff because I've hired many, many VAs. You want to make sure it's a fit. You're comfortable with them, your work style, what's their runway? How much time do they need to pump something out? And are they serious about this? I found the VAs that have multiple jobs. Oh, I have a full-time job. I do this on the side. I do this. They're scattered. They're trying to run their life. They're trying to run their family, their kids, their house, their everything. And you are an afterthought. I don't want to be an afterthought. I'm looking for a team member. I'm looking for someone who's in it with me for the long run and who's going to put my business and my best interest at heart, not is busy, juggling a bunch of plates. And the other thing is having that VA that does this full time and that's their job. That means they have so much experience and they have expertise, because it's not just them creating your MailChimp. It's they probably did some troubleshooting for 5 other clients on MailChimp. So when it comes time for them to do your MailChimp, boom, 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 they can create it, and they know how to do the graphics and create the Bitly and do all that other stuff, because they do it all day long every day. If you're working with a VA who just kind of does this on the side, they're trying to figure it out as they go along. So you want to consider that, because I know people just say like, oh, I'm going to hire my niece, for the summer, who's home from college. Oh, she's smart, she can figure anything out. It's really not that easy. I don't recommend it. Or, oh, my friend needs extra money, she said she'd be willing to learn everything. Really? You're going to waste a lot of time with that. So those are just some of the things I want you to consider. Let me know if you're watching the replay. Let me know if you are looking for a VA. There are so many Facebook groups out there, and even on your personal page, you can just post, I'm looking for a VA. Does anyone know anyone? That's the best way to go. And then they'll comment and they'll say, oh, my VA is amazing. I don't know if she's taking any more people on. And so then you can have a private conversation and, why is she amazing? What do you love about her? That kind of a thing, because that's the best way. And that way you get your referrals and your testimonials. And then, okay, one more thing. Go to their social media. If you are hiring a virtual assistant and their social media sucks, well, the proof is in the pudding. So make sure, you're looking, when you go to their social media, you're looking, is it seamless? Is it on brand? What are they using for hashtags? What's their message? So you really want to go stalk them and kind of see what they're putting out there. So those are my tips. Again, I started with 10, maybe I gave you 15, but I hope that was helpful. Again, have a great day. Happy Monday. And I am here if you have any more questions about hiring a virtual assistant and growing your team. It is essential to scale and grow your business, because we cannot do it alone. I need my VAs always, always, always. And they need to be good with tech, because I'm not. So have a great day, everybody. And if you have anything you'd like me to talk about, share some coaching wisdom and some business tips, let me know. Again, I was so happy to receive that message this weekend from a client suggesting that I talk about working with a VA. So have a great day, everyone.